Hello everyone, it's Dr. Manjiri Nadkarni, Ayurvedic MD, registered holistic nutritionist, back today. I'm a little late, so my previous video was not seen on Facebook or Instagram. I think I tried logging on. I don't know. We had some issues logging in. I want to say a quick hi to Mama Veda. He is here. So if you're watching this live, say a quick hi. If you are watching this as a replay, you can post your questions below. Today we are going to discuss about the 10 signs or 10 hidden signs that you have food sensitivity or food allergy. And there is a big difference between food sensitivities, food allergies, right? So a lot of the times, you are not aware of it's is it an intolerance, is it a sensitivity, is it an allergy, or you are dealing with some symptoms on a daily basis but you don't even connect it to food, right? And that is the whole point of the video today. Is if you are struggling with any symptoms and you have been ignoring them, please try to figure out if they are, you know related to any of the sensitivities, and this may also indicate that you have hidden intolerances or hidden sensitivities. Hi Isha, nice to see you. Hello Mama Veda. So let's get started, right? So food intolerance, food sensitivity sometimes is used interchangeably, and typically when we talk about a food sensitivity, it means that you could be sensitive to the food, you could not tolerate the food. That's literally what the intolerance means. And it also means that you are having some gut related symptom. Typically most symptoms associated with food intolerance, a lot of the symptoms associated with food sensitivity are limited to your gut, right? So you might experience stomach ache, you might experience a lot of cramping, you might experience certain other symptoms as well, like headaches, not necessarily just about the gut, but you're not going to find any of the immunoglobulins in the blood typically when it's the case of food sensitivity or intolerance, right? Now, a food allergy can be more severe, it can be dangerous. It is when your immune system is mediated and it perceives the food to be a foreign substance, and it will release a lot of chemicals in your body to fight that, and that could be fatal as well. So an example is anaphylactic allergies, like peanuts. Some people are sensitive or allergic to peanuts, and that's when they'll have to carry like an EpiPen. So if they ingest peanuts by mistake, it could lead to shutting down of the throat, or so something as severe as that. So that's the difference between the two. Now, there are so many foods. The most common ones I talk about are dairy. And often, when it comes to dairy, you are reacting to the protein. It's not always the lactose, right? So, milk has whey, milk has casein, which are two of the dairy proteins, and you could have sensitivity to it. Lactose intolerance is about losing the enzyme lactase. You don't have the enzyme lactase anymore due to any inflammation in the gut or any genetically, and that is why you're not digesting lactose, which is the milk sugar, right? So this is the difference between the two. There is another thing called histamine intolerance, which I deal with quite a bit in my practice. And histamine intolerance is when your body is secreting lots of histamine, certain foods that trigger the histamine, but you will have a lot of hives, you will have lots of digestive symptoms, you will have a lot of acid buildup in the body. You will start wheezing as well, and those could be signs of histamine intolerance, right? And the uh, testing that we do for histamine intolerance is different, and it goes beyond food sensitivities or food allergies, right? So let's talk about the main signs that you should watch out for, or main signs that you have hidden food sensitivities. So the number one is that you are running to the washroom a lot, you're running to the toilet a lot, right? So if you get lots of digestive symptoms, if you have a lot of bloating, if you have diarrhea, if you have excess gas, if you have a lot of abdominal pain, these are signs, these are digestive signs that show that something's wrong with not just your digestion, but there is something in the food that you are probably reacting to, right? So this is a sign that shows that there is something hidden in the food that you're eating. And if you're constantly bloated, if you are constantly gassy, if you have diarrhea, if you have constipation as well, and if the constipation is severe where there is a lot of pain associated with, there is some bleeding associated, it will mean that you are struggling with hidden food sensitivity. Digestive symptoms are the most common food intolerance symptoms, and again, it is important to figure out if it's related with gluten, or is it related with wheat, or is it related to dairy, or is it related to lactose. So we have to figure that out. So number one I described was digestive symptoms, right? The second one is any kind of muscle pain or joint pain. So if you are not sure about where you're getting this pain from, right? I'll give you a simple example. Few years ago, I tested a man in his 70s, and he was struggling with signs of food sensitivity. He was diagnosed with polymyalgia rheumatica, right? And all his joints hurt really bad. And we took the foods out. We tested him for the foods. We took the foods out, and there he stopped having that pain, right? And this is a testimonial. You can go on my website, you can check it out. It's also on my Instagram, so if you check it out, it's there. I'm not making this up at all. So if you are eating something, you could have joint pain, you could have muscle pain, and that indicates food sensitivity as well. Another example I'll give you is my own self. I have gluten sensitivity. Especially it triggers joint pain, when I eat too much of gluten, when I'll have wheat. I typically don't eat any rice, spelt, or barley, but wheat I can tolerate to some amounts. If it's more than that, then it will trigger joint pain. This is also very common in any of the clients that have fibromyalgia. So if you have fibromyalgia, number one thing to do is get tested for food sensitivities, allergies. If you are diagnosed with arthritis as well, certain nightshades like tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, eggplants, which are in the nightshade family, can also make you react to those. So that could be a sensitivity that you have, right? Now the third one is caffeine. So for certain people, caffeine is like a big thing. So if you drink coffee, and if especially you are wired after 3 or 4 o'clock, if you have a coffee you cannot sleep. If coffee causes diarrhea, that is another sign that you have food sensitivity, right? So typically coffee is metabolized very differently by different people. And if your metabolism is already slow, that is going to impact you, right? Caffeine is a common stimulant. It will excite your central nervous system. And caffeine sensitivity is where you could be anxious in the morning. So I had a client, for example, who would talk to me about waking up in the morning and she would be okay, but as soon as she would be ready and head to work, she would be always like anxious and fidgety, right? And I was like, okay, what's your routine? Do you wake up, like what would you do after that? So she would always wake up, she would shower, and that would help her relax, but she would go for a cup of coffee, and black coffee, and that would stimulate her. That is what would make her very fidgety, that is what would make her very anxious. And then when we cut the coffee off, then she started feeling much better. The fourth one is headaches or migraines, right? See, getting an occasional headache is absolutely okay. Getting migraines regularly or headaches on a regular basis is absolutely not okay, right? So occasionally, okay, you haven't slept well or you are dehydrated today and you get a headache, acceptable. But if you are struggling with headaches every single day, I have had clients come to me and tell me that they will get migraines few times a month, or they will get headaches at least 3 to 4 times a week, right? That is not acceptable. So if you are someone who's getting headaches or migraines on a frequent basis, on a regular basis, this is the one sign that you are struggling with food sensitivities, right? And something as simple as cutting the food sensitivities out is going to really help you. Hi Susan, hi Sapna, thanks for watching this live. My home mantra is here as well. I think it's Harsha, so thanks for watching this live. So we are talking about hidden food sensitivities. How do you know what are the signs of hidden sensitivities? The first one we talked about was you're constantly running to the toilet, or you're spending a lot of the time on the toilet, so you could be bloated, you could have excess gas, you could have diarrhea, you could have a lot of abdominal pain, and there could be constipation or diarrhea. Even extreme constipation, where there is a lot of pain and discomfort, can be caused by food sensitivities. Second was any muscle or joint pain, right? If you are struggling with fibromyalgia, any other conditions, having muscle pain, joint pain, that is a sign that you have hidden food sensitivities. The third one was when we talk about caffeine, like anxiety, irritability, which is can be attributed to caffeine. And that is the third sign where you are having hidden food sensitivities. If you're constantly anxious, right? Or if you start getting anxious after a certain event, and it's not related to um, any like previous history, right? Suddenly you're starting to get this anxiety after eating a certain food. That's a sign of food sensitivity. Headaches, migraines, getting constant headaches, constant migraines are also related to food sensitivity. Now, the fifth one is you're always tired, right? If you are constantly tired, if you have no energy at all, if you get tired after eating, right? So that is a sign of food intolerance or food allergy. Now, when we talk about fatigue, there are different causes. One is the chronic fatigue syndrome, which is something that is characterized by extreme fatigue, extreme tiredness, and that does not go away with rest, right? Fatigue could be because of adrenal conditions as well. Your stress glands are out of balance and they are not balancing things well, and that could be one of the reasons why. And then the third one is where there is the leaky gut. There are issues with digestion, which is known as intestinal permeability, and the food allergen complexes roaming in the body will make you tired, right? So again, an example I can give you here is I had a client who would complain about you know that as soon as she would eat, she would just feel like nodding off on the dinner table, right? And she was eating like a lot of pasta typically as her meals, and then we found out she was intolerant to wheat, right? So that was a sign that okay, she's having this sensitivity where she's reacting to wheat. And that's again going to be my sixth example. After the tired, if you talk about wheat especially, there is also a condition called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So it is not always related to gluten intolerance, right? Or celiac disease. So if you have a lot of digestive distress, if you suddenly eat wheat or pasta, you start feeling bloated, you start getting a lot of cramps or gas, or you know um, get severely constipated, that is another sign that you're having food intolerances. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Okay, no, Sapna, or no questions so far? Okay, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so yeah, so then what else can we discuss? So sinus issues, right? So for some people, if you are constantly congested, if you have any post nasal drip, right? So if you're constantly congested, if you have lots of post nasal drip, that is another sign that you are having food intolerances. So especially when we talk about dairy milk, that is also mucus producing. Now, I know in Ayurveda, we talk about milk as a superfood, but I have known so many Ayurvedic doctors even today, ask people to drink milk on a regular basis. But my experience, especially in Canada, has been that because of the climatic conditions in Canada, again, the milk is slightly different. The casein is not A2, it's the A1 casein that is harder to digest. And because the environment, it's a kapha heavy environment, especially in Canada. So lots of people struggle with dairy allergies. So if you are drinking milk on a regular basis or eating yogurt for probiotic content, that's how it's marketed today, that oh, eat lots of yogurt and probiotic yogurt. If you are getting any postnasal drip, if you're getting any sinus congestion, if you touch here it starts hurting, or your sinuses just feel swollen, that is a sign that you are struggling with some hidden food sensitivities. So Isha, again, perfect question. So if you are, Isha is asking me a very nice question. If your skin reacts itching or acne within a few hours of eating chocolate or tomatoes, is it histamine related? It could be related to histamine. It could also be that you're just sensitive to the food, right? And sensitivity to certain foods can also trigger excess histamine release. So it's a little bit complicated, food sensitivities versus the histamines, but there are certain foods that are known to be histamine triggers that can trigger, like avocados is another example, right? So if you eat avocados and suddenly you start having like a runny nose or something, and this is again interesting because one of the first times I saw a client with histamine intolerance was when I didn't even know too much about it, right? So the person that came to me, he said that as soon as I start having my lunch, I start sneezing, and I sneeze at least 50 times in a row. And I just feel so weak and tired. Imagine sneezing constantly 50 times in a row, right? And he would have avocado sandwiches every day for his lunch, right? So this is a sign. So there are certain foods that will trigger histamine, and that is also a sign. Sinus congestion is a sign that you have food sensitivities or food allergies. The next one is any kind of irritability or crankiness or changes in your mood, right? So food and mood are related to each other. So while we talked about anxiety and caffeine, even struggling with low mood or just apathy, like you don't have interest in anything else, happens when your body is overwhelmed, right? So the one thing you have to understand is your body and mind work together in conjunction. Your body is not going to work separately, your mind is not going to work separately. So if your body and mind are not in sync, that could be one of the reasons where you are really struggling with food sensitivity, uh, because you're getting low mood, or you're getting anxious, or you're getting irritated because something's going on in the body that you cannot pinpoint yet, right? So that is also a sign that you have food sensitivity. That is also like the one sign that, okay, I'm suddenly irritable now, and there's nothing wrong in my life, right? So if you have lots of things going on in your life that are not so great, of course you are going to be irritable, right? But if you are feeling having a low mood, if you're having irritability, but there is nothing, there is no cause for it, there is no emotional reason for it, it could be that your body is struggling with food sensitivities, and that is the main reason why you are having food, like low mood. The other one is bad breath, right? Or halitosis. So a lot of the times we talk about, and good question, Susan, that's really good question. So I'm going to address that as well. So I'm just going to talk about the mouth and bad breath, and you asked me about canker sores. So definitely certain foods, like for example tomatoes, certain acidic foods, if you're sensitive to those, they could cause canker sores in the mouth. I've had clients react to different foods that were causing the canker sores in the mouth. And again, there are certain nutritional deficiencies, example B vitamin, right? Deficiencies that can also cause the sores in the mouth. So that is another sign. Canker sores in the mouth is a sign of hidden food sensitivities. Bad breath halitosis is also a sign of hidden food sensitivities, right? So hidden food sensitivities, typically what means is you're not digesting the food well, you're sensitive to the food, and often if you go on eating the food that you're sensitive to, your immune system is not going to work efficiently. It will create certain changes in your microbiome, your gut bacteria as well. And when there are certain changes in your gut bacteria, there can be changes in your oral bacteria as well, right? So we talk about the healthy gut microbiome, but there is also an oral microbiome. We are bacteria from head to toe, right? So if there is not enough good bacteria in the mouth, there can be increase in the bad bacteria that can cause bad breath. Often food sensitivities can cause issues that are deeper seated in the digestive tract that will cause bad breath. So even if you use a mouthwash or start cleaning your teeth, you may not see results till you fix the issues. And that is a sign of food sensitivity. So Sapna is asking me, what are the signs of gluten allergy? So gluten sensitivity can show up in different ways. I have seen clients struggling with joint pain attributed to gluten. Diarrhea, constipation is common, bloating is common, any rashes or skin patches in the hair especially is common with gluten allergy. Brain fog is common with gluten allergy. So there are various symptoms of food sensitivity that can be similar to gluten sensitivity as well, right? That brings me to my next point, which is the brain fog. So if you feel fuzzy, if you're having issues with memory, or if somebody talked to you about something, you completely forgot it, you have difficulty paying attention, you have difficulty focusing, you just feel fuzzy, you don't feel clear in your head, that is another sign that you could be struggling with food sensitivity, right? So this is the time that you need to get, food sensitivities checked, because while it's very easy, because these are some of the signs that we talked about, right? Not many of you will be aware of it, or you just go dealing with it, right? But if you don't take care of your food sensitivities, what ends up happening is it will start weakening your immune system. So eventually you will start noticing that you're getting more colds and flus, you're getting more tired, you're getting more lethargic. Often food sensitivities will have overall impact on the body. They can change your hormonal levels, they can change your thyroid mechanism. So it is important for you to figure out which foods you're sensitive to. And again, as your body changes, the food sensitivities change as well. So it's not that you're going to stay sensitive to the food for the rest of the life, right? And if you have tested for food sensitivities a year ago, you may get a completely different picture today. So if you are watching this live, if you are somewhere near Blue Water Nutrition, you can feel free to message me, and I'll be more than happy to book a food sensitivity testing, and we can figure out exactly which foods you are reacting to, which foods you need to get rid of, right? So that's something that we can figure out together. So this was the talk on food sensitivities, and what are the signs, the hidden signs of food sensitivities that you could be struggling with. So we have discussed this today. Now, next week I am not available. I'm taking the week off. I'm super excited. I'm going on my solo trip, which is really like exciting for me. All the time. So yeah, I'm going on my solo trip next week. So I won't be here to do the Wellness Wednesday. But the week after that, I will be discussing about how to test for food sensitivities and food allergies. That's the topic of June 15th. I will talk about different tests you can take, which ones are accurate, which ones are easy, which ones are cost effective. So I'll be discussing all of that, right? So definitely join me on June 15th at 12 o'clock. Every Wednesday noon, I will be live, and I will talk about different topics related to health, and that is what we call Wellness Wednesdays. So this is just a tool to educate you, to take better care of yourself, to identify if you're having certain sensitivities, to identify if there's something going on in your body. So the goal is to make you healthy. So if you enjoyed this information, feel free to share it with your friends and family so they can benefit as well. I'm gonna say a quick hi to half doctor, half writer, and then Amrita Santo and Dominic Tabruzzo. So thank you for joining this live. I will see you guys the week after next, June 15th at noon. And